probably do. If you could actually click on my icon at the very top of the screen, or just hover over it, and do you see an option? Oh, it's starting recording. Yeah.
Yeah, I've hit the it is recording now. It says.
Okay, that's great. Okay, no problem. So this is a fun start to it. This is the recorded video version. So obviously recording this on Blab. What's happened by the look of it is you've because you've been made host and come back in. Perhaps I'm not host anymore. Perhaps you're actually the official host of it and doing the recording of it. But it's just a fun experience doing it on Blab, but the main quantity of listeners will be obviously listening to the audio podcast afterwards.
It's funny that the best way to learn how to fix these things is when they go wrong.
Yes,
and you have to.
Yeah,
and then you can sound like an expert when everyone else asks, "How did you fix that?"
Absolutely, yeah. But if I just start the proper introduction actually in a second, and then we can get going if that's good with you.
Sure.
Lovely. Okay. Helping today's entrepreneurs stay on top of the latest digital marketing trends, I'm David Bain, and this is Digital Marketing Radio, episode 142, Creating Customers on Autopilot.
DigitalMarketingRadio.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by Aweber. Build your email list, engage your subscribers, do email it the right way. I've arranged a special deal for all Digital Marketing Radio listeners, and that's a 60-day free trial with the email marketing software provider that I use, Aweber. Lock in your 60-day free trial, plus view a video that I've recorded in the 3 reasons why I use their service at aweber.com/DMR. So just go to aweber.com/DMR to get started today.
The big interview with David Bain.
I'm joined today by someone who sold his business for 7 figures back in 2003 and then retired and then got bored. So he started an e-commerce business, and that's now generated over $20 million in sales to date. Welcome to DMR, Jon Butt.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Great to have you on here, Jon. Well, you can find Jon over at marketingforowners.com. So, Jon, you registered fireprotectiononline.co.uk back in 2006. How significant to your success is the fact that you were previously involved in the same industry?
Oh, absolutely. It meant, because it's funny, people talk about being passionate and trying to find something you're passionate about. When you're trying to start a business, you write huge lists of what you like doing, what your friends do, what you've done in the past. But I'd run a business doing this before. So for me, I know the industry. And by knowing the industry, that makes it so much easier.
Right. Okay. But because one of the reasons I ask is because I was struck by obviously Michael Gerber's phrase, work on the business, not in the business. And it struck me that you're trying to help business owners to a certain degree actually take themselves away from the perhaps mundane everyday business tasks. So Michael Gerber basically his point of view was that you could actually not have any experience in the business and perhaps be more successful because you're not likely to get actually involved with the business at all. Is that a mindset that's you don't really agree with, or you can relate with?
Well, I have to relate because Michael Gerber's E-Myth is formed the basis of what I studied, and I was actually part of the E-Myth Mastery coaching system for years, and that's what's enabled me to remove myself from my business. But I have the experience of doing this before, and in the old version, the offline version, I had done everything. In the new one, I then realized that I can't do everything, or if I do, I'll just get stuck. And so from the very start, although I did everything at the start, I just tried absolutely to replace myself at every single level. But having a knowledge of how everything works, I think is very important, including the business and the business processes. But it doesn't mean you actually have to do it. I always say Richard Branson does not fly his airplanes or drive his trains, and he does okay.
Yes, he certainly does. Okay. So, I mean, when you actually started off in your current e-commerce business, were you very hands-on in every marketing activity?
And then so I set up the whole store. I use a software called Xcart and built the whole store, wrote every word on it. And I was actually living in France at the time, and I phoned up an old supplier from my last one and asked if they would drop ship. I was actually setting this up to build e-commerce sites and sell them ready-made to my old fire extinguisher buddies. But so I set it all up and I asked them if they would drop ship. I gave them my credit card number and said, every time you get an order, just charge it to the card. They didn't know what drop shipping was. I had to explain. And I had to phone up, I had to convince my bank to set up and the credit card company to ship the paperwork to France for me to sign. Oh, it's very difficult, of course. But I set this up and then suddenly orders started happening. I thought, what's all this about? And orders kept coming and they just kept coming. And I never showed the demo site to anybody and I'm still doing it. But yes, I did everything at that end. And then we got so busy, we had to move back to the UK. I hired a little store in Sandwich in Kent, and I did this from France without viewing it. And the people who were renting it said they didn't have anything. I said, you must have something. They said, well, we have got one, but it's a bit grim. And this place, the size of a double garage in an old Second World War RAF camp. And it had no electricity, no heating, no water, no toilet. And I had to have that all wired and borrowed from next door. And stuck some shelves in it. And I used to then work from home 20 minutes away and drive down the road, do all the packing just after lunch, drive back, get back to work. And so I did everything. Yeah.
And that was back in about 2006, wasn't it?
2007. So 2007 actually started. And so I think by the end of 2007, I had hired somebody to work in the, what I'm going to call a warehouse. I think I used to call it a warehouse back then.
Wow. So what marketing activity did you first focus on to actually try and automate initially?
Well, initially it was AdWords. I followed a system. I knew somebody who was very good and followed a system. So I was fortunate to set it up exactly following their system from the word go. And that was brilliant because I didn't realize I was becoming an AdWords expert. But there's a limit because what I found is that once we suddenly appear and obviously do well, anyone else that we take the business away from notices the business goes away and they eventually figure out where it's going and they just copy what I do. Right. So all that happens is the bids go up, Google gets richer, we don't get any more orders. So I had to figure out other ways of doing it outside Google and to make it easier because I don't have time. So whenever I set anything up, I always think I'm really lazy. I set it up to work in the simplest possible way because I haven't got time to do anything.
I remember back in 2004, 2005, getting AdWords clicks for a penny, and you could drive a lot of traffic very cheaply back then, but it's slightly different now in terms of cost.
Bids that I used to pay 75 pence for, we now pay £4 for the same, and we're not in first place anymore, and we're still selling the same amount of stuff. It's ridiculous, but we still do a lot of AdWords, but we monitor it very carefully, and if words don't make a profit, we just cull them, and we could sell probably twice as much, but I like making a profit. Strange.
So is AdWords at the moment still the most significant traffic driver for you?
Yeah, paid. Also Bing. I mean, Bing in the UK doesn't do much, but Bing have just announced that they're actually first of all, they've taken over AOL's search. So they got AOL, and Bing is now the default search engine for Firefox. Gave them the jump, but Microsoft are about to incorporate Bing into all of their products, like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all of it, so that you can search from within every product, and that's going to give them another little boost. So we use that as well, but probably half the business comes from pay-per-click. Mm.
And are there any marketing activities that a business owner actually shouldn't automate? Is it important to retain that direct one-to-one customer relationship sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. Anyone who goes online with the thought that they will no longer have to speak to customers or deal with customers is getting it all wrong. This is the internet is just a channel. In the old days, someone invented there was direct mail, someone invented radio, then TV, infomercials, everything like that. It's just the channel to market. They are still customers, and unless you look after your customers, they will go elsewhere. Someone else will out customer service you. But on AdWords is one half it. I mean, we have a full automated system for catching the other ones, and a lot of it is to do with communication, whether it's by email or by voice. We don't do any outgoing sales. This is one of the most important things. The business is built entirely without a single outgoing phone call or salesperson. So I think it's not essential, but you still need to communicate with customers.
And is that just because you didn't want to do that, or you didn't think that would work as effectively for your style of business?
What, the salespeople?
Yes.
One of the main reasons I sold my last business was, to be honest, I was a bit tired with dealing with my staff and people that have a sales role, if your business is successful, are going to be approached by your competitors all the time. And I had almost a revolving door trying to, with people asking for a pay rise because they've been offered more by so-and-so. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. I don't want all that hassle again.
So have you tried Facebook advertising quite a bit as well? Because a lot of businesses are being quite successful with that at the moment.
Yes, we do use Facebook ads, but Facebook ads we find is different. For certain markets, home fashion, things like that, you can send them straight to sales pages. But what I find with Facebook is it's best for building your list. So to send people to a lead magnet rather than an offer. So we've never had any success sending them directly to sales pages on the e-commerce site. We send them to landing pages and we market to them afterwards.
Intriguing. One of the most significant changes in terms of marketing automation over the last 2 or 3 years has been email and the ability to get very personalized and targeted with what you're communicating to your prospects or customers. Is that something that you're actively trying to hone and get more personalized as well?
Yeah, that's probably the secret. See, what I would explain is that AdWords is one part of it, but a lot of people that are searching on the internet are looking just purely for information. In fact, the majority are not looking to buy. They're not ready to buy. They're just looking for information. And at some point or other, they will be ready to buy. So you can have a fantastic content marketing strategy, but what happens is they come along, they read all your stuff, they read page after page, and they get fully informed, off they go. And then a couple of months later, armed with all that knowledge that they gained from your site, they're ready to buy. They come back, they search on the internet, find the next website, buy it from them, end of. And that was that. You did all that work. So I've always said that a website has, unless you're a government, it has just two options. One, it sells stuff like e-commerce, like my Fire Protection Online or Amazon. Or two, it captures a lead so you can sell stuff later on. And that's it. If it doesn't do either of those, then why? So you need, when anyone lands on your website, the first thing they see should be some form of lead capture, but it doesn't have to be in your face or a pop-up or anything like that, but just some form of list building.
And does this apply to any type of business, or is this specifically relevant for e-commerce type websites?
No, any business whatsoever. Every business needs customers, and marketing is a lot of people equate marketing to selling, and I personally think that marketing is every single activity in your business before or after the sale. Every single thing in the order and taking their money. Everything else is marketing. A lot of people don't realize that so first impressions, I mean, you've heard it before, you can impression once. That's all marketing. So you've got to know, like, and trust you, no matter what you're selling. The ticket, the bigger the price, the longer it may take. Of course, different businesses have different buying cycles. But in mine, in fire safety, people are told by insurers, fire officer, whatever it is, or fire marshal, that they need to get something, and they're not really interested. They don't know anything about it, and they just want to know that they're going to comply with regulations, and so they just go out and buy it. But if they already know there is a trusted resource, they just come to us.
So what if a marketer was listening to this, a marketer who worked in maybe a medium-sized organization, and the general thought process within that company was that, it's marketing's responsibility for bringing in leads, it's sales' responsibility for selling, and then it's customer services' responsibility for servicing customer requirements afterwards. And those are three separate departments, and marketing just sits by itself to a certain degree. How does that person try and justify to senior management, no, marketing actually needs to be integrated with other activities?
Yeah, obviously there are a lot of businesses where you need to go sit in front of a customer. Yeah, I mean, if you're selling double glazing windows, you need to go visit and measure up the place. But how about if that customer is pre-sold? So they already know everything they need to know. You don't have to have someone go there and spend hours and hours convincing them. The person who visits is almost effectively just taking the order because the person is pre-sold. So the marketing needs to get people onto a list, because you see, people come to your website, and remember what I said, they'll look for the information, they'll read it. Off they go. Most people are just hoping, I think, that they'll use the contact us form or the phone number, if there is one, and contact you. But a lot of these people are looking at midnight or 1 a.m. And how's that going to work? It just doesn't. So capture their email and then communicate with them. Tell them everything they could possibly need to know about that product. Make them informed, which infers that you are the expert, the authority. And then just keep in touch. Keep in touch every now and again. Make it clear that you sell stuff and there are offers. And when that person is ready to buy, then depending on what you're selling, the way it passes on to the sales team, if there is a sales team, is great. But then once it's been sold, salespeople are done, got their commission, that's it. And there is for me, that's when it starts. You make all that effort to get those people to buy, to make their first purchase. That's when it should start. And you should have a 100-day system to turn that person from a buyer into a repeat buyer, into a regular buyer, and into a preacher, where they generate your sales for you.
That's great. Great advice. So what if you're talking to a business that were or have been historically very traditional in terms of approach, and perhaps used traditional sales tactics and just lead generation to begin with, and then it was very sales driven, the whole process, and then maybe they started to automate things. You must have seen quite a few mistakes being made. What perhaps are some of the bigger mistakes that businesses trying to automate things tend to make initially?
For e-commerce businesses, a lot of people do list build. First of all, the biggest mistake is using the word newsletter in whatever you think is a lead capture thing. If it uses the word newsletter, I would challenge you to find another way to describe that, because who on earth, I mean, when was the last time anyone actually willingly signed up for a newsletter? But e-commerce companies generally just add people to lists. A lot of people get caught up with regulations and think you've got to get someone to tick a box to say that, but you don't really. And so then they just send you offer, because they want to get another sale. What they forget is that this is a long-term game. You don't want quick hits and then that's done. You need to build relationships. And that the challenge I would put to people is to look at your emails and think of the emails that you personally get from companies that are similar. I mean, you buy from Amazon and then you get hammered with stuff, and it's quite hard to get off those lists in Amazon, to actually find in a place where to go and get off them. They're annoying. So why do it yourself? Why do so many people do what they hate people do when people do it to them? So I would say communicate with them in the same way that you may on social media, but just talk to them. I mean, those emails can be like your blog posts. Just so once someone's bought something, tell them how to use it, tell them how to maintain it, tell them how long it's supposed to last, ask them what they thought. Just communicate with them like you would with if someone came in to your restaurant, for instance.
Great advice. So essentially, email is part of a conversation rather than just one-off broadcasting.
Yes, and one of the things we found as well is that the longer, a lot of people will have a lead capture and then an email sequence of, say, 5 days, maybe 7 emails. But again, I challenge you, try and stretch that out to 30 and send something once a week. It'll gradually over the first few days, like day 1, day 2, then day 4, day 6, day 9, day 12, spread it out till it gets to 7, and then extend that to about 30 emails. Everyone's going to say, what on earth would I write about? The same stuff that people talk to them on the phone about, everything they need to know. Just, they don't have to be huge. The same things you'd blog about if you're giving out information. Just answer the questions that are in people's heads. And that, once it's set, on this autoresponder sequence, it's done. You only have to write it for the first person. Everyone else will get it.
Wonderful advice. Well, coming up, we're going to be learning about the one piece of software that Jon couldn't live without. But first of all, I'd like to say a big thank you for all the lovely tweets that I've been receiving recently. Argo Whitespace tweeted, "Hi there, just wanted to say hi. I'm a faithful listener to your podcast." Well, it's great to have you listening here, Argo Whitespace. Webmaster Bunny tweeted, "Loved your Udemy course. You're awesome." Well, you're awesome too for tweeting that. Thank you, Webmaster Bunny. So if you want to check out a free Udemy course, dear listener, just search udemy.com for what is SEO. But let's segue into the second section of our discussion. So that focuses on Jon's thoughts on where digital marketing's been and where it's heading. So starting off with
software I couldn't live without.
So Jon, what software do you currently use in your business that if someone took away from you, it would significantly impact your marketing success?
Well, a lot. I actually have a report of the 71 tools we use every day. But one that is very effective and free is Process Street. Everyone hears about systems. I mean, you mentioned the E-Myth, and everyone needs to be systemized. You need to replicate everything you do consistently. But people have checklists, they have it in spreadsheets, and then they ask people to follow it, and no one's going to print the things out. But with Process Street, which is free, the processes have to be followed through, and then it records that they have been done. You can't just print it out. You have to actually follow through. It's process.st. It's very good.
Wonderful. Okay, I love hearing recommendations that no one else has mentioned before in previous episodes, and I think that falls into that category, so that's wonderful. And a great thing as well was the fact that you spelled out the URL, so I don't have to go hunting for it either. So yeah. A slightly more challenging question, though. What piece of software don't you use, but you've heard good things about, and you intend to try at some point in the near future?
Yeah, I'm a great one for not spending any money, and everything is free. So I've always wanted to try out a marketing automation software such as HubSpot or that kind of thing. The problem is it is a very big commitment, and we already have such a library of everything to integrate it into the current e-commerce business would be very, very expensive. So it's one of those things that at some point in time, because the way it tracks everything more accurately than analytics. It tracks the paths. So I think I would like to try HubSpot one day. I'll save up.
Well, I'll include links to those tools that you recommend in the show notes at digitalmarketingradio.com. But moving on to...
I wish I would have.
I'd like you to look back on the very first day that you're involved in trying to market a business online. What didn't you do so well? What do you wish that you would have done differently?
I'm sure a lot of people have said this. It's lead capture, list building. So most people just, everything else gets in your way. You've got to build the business. And what I would challenge people, this is something that's taken me quite a few years to realize, that you should spend about 20% of your time building your business and 80% of your time marketing your business. Because if you're not marketing it, no one's looking. If you write a blog post, tell people you wrote a blog post. Actually market it. Don't just hope someone's going to find your website and read it. That's what everyone does. But tell people about it. So I would have been list building, and I would have liked to have had lead pages. Would have made it easy.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's certainly a wonderful tool as well. It's funny, you talking about tell people that you've written and published a blog post. I remember back in about the year 2000 or so, websites used to be sold by the fact that, well, once you have a website and it's published to the world. Yes, but you have to tell people about it. It's just sitting there, and it's not actively marketed. And it took a long time for people to get that concept. But I guess people are still struggling with it when they're publishing pieces of content nowadays.
And the best, if people are thinking, well, who do I tell? The best people to tell are people with an influencer audience. So people with a bigger audience than you. Tell them, be friends with them. They'll tell their audience, saves you having to build one.
And that's the wonderful thing about podcasts as well. You interview wonderful people like Jon, and if you find the content wonderful, then you'll hopefully share it with your audience, when it's published in the future. And if a percentage of guests do that, that's a wonderful way to do it. I remember I've mentioned this in the podcast before. WordStream fairly recently published a post with their top 10 marketing podcasts, and I was included on there. And as soon as I was alerted to the fact, I wanted to share it. So mention other people within the content that you produce, and if you do mention them favorably, it's highly likely, if you tell them, that they'll want to share it.
That's a bit of a cheek. I use WordStream. Why wasn't I on
it? Maybe next year, yes. Hopefully we'll both be on there next year. I wouldn't like to be replaced by you. I don't. We'll see. We'll see how it goes next year. Okay, let's move on to
the this or that round.
So this is the quick response round. 10 quick questions, just 2 rows here. Try not to think about the answer too much, and you're only allowed to say the word both on one occasion. Ready to go?
Let's give it a go.
Email or Twitter?
Email.
Audio or video?
Video.
Affiliates or display advertising?
Display ad.
Facebook or Google+?
Facebook.
Online press releases or one-on-one relations?
One-on-one.
Paid search or SEO?
Paid.
Email contact form or telephone number?
Email form.
Website or app?
Website.
Social subscriber or email subscriber?
Email.
And local marketing or global marketing?
Local for me, because we're just UK.
That wasn't so much a struggle. I'm trying to pick out an answer that you even struggled slightly with. Was there one at all?
Sorry.
There wasn't.
The last one, in my marketing business, I can talk globally with the fire safety, because all countries are specific. We can't really export our fire extinguishers to France or America. So that's it. But one of the reasons I said local is we're so tempted that the audience is like billions. I think in my marketing business, I can get people in America, South Africa, Australia, but quite often forget, I live in Kent in the UK. Why don't I just make the most of the people in Kent? There's plenty of them. I could actually go and meet them. So local is forgotten.
Yes, and if you can relate with people a little bit better, that conversion rate's going to be higher as well. If
Oh, yeah.
if you struggle, if you try and actually appeal to so many people, then you're not actually giving out a very specific message, and you're going to struggle, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, in my fire safety business, when we try new things, we quite often experiment with Kent first before we try it somewhere else.
That's a great tip. So you do that with pay-per-click ads, I take it. Try and experiment with that one specific region to see if something converts.
Yeah, if something's going to be expensive, or a direct mail, or some kind of mail shot, or inserts, that's a great one. Including your thing in someone else's mailing, so it's cheaper than a stamp. So we quite often try it because you think, oh gosh, got to go everywhere. So because for us, any business can be a customer, so we have to keep it small. So we just do it locally in Kent, and it's easier to monitor the results that way.
Intriguing. And you're also obviously disclosing that offline marketing is still important to you. Even though you're an e-commerce business, offline marketing can be still integral to your success. Is that right?
Absolutely. Anything that can be measured, first of all, should be tried. And on all the way that online marketing works is pretty much a development of direct mailing, of direct response marketing. So why not send out leaflets? Why not put, one of the most effective ways is just putting stuff in the box when we send it out to a customer. Right. And it's free. It's just there. So that is very effective to us. And these days you can get leaflets printed so cheaply.
That's a great tip. So every single potential touch point that you have with a prospect or customer is potentially another marketing opportunity.
Yeah. And don't forget, we don't have any salespeople, so we don't have any other way of doing it. So we will encourage, when we put things in the box to people, we also post stuff out to them, and we will ask them if they know of anyone else who they think might benefit from this great service. Here's a discount to pass on to them, that kind of thing. So they go and do a bit of our selling for us.
The $10,000 question.
If I was to give you $10,000 and you had to spend it over the next few days on a single thing to grow your business, what would you spend it on, and how would you measure success?
Okay, I would take half of it, say $5,000. I would find the best expert at marketing who has been there, done that successfully in the form of marketing I want to choose, say e-commerce. I would contact them and I would say, could I give you $5,000 for a few days of your undivided time, and do that till I find someone that agrees. And then I would when I turn up, I'd say, I've got $5,000 to spend on the initiatives you're going to show me.
That is a wonderful tip there. So essentially what you're saying is stop trying to test and learn, and just take advice off someone that knows how to do it.
There's no need to reinvent the wheel. It's all been done. Amazon, whatever Amazon do, they're doing what other people did. Tesco's, Walmart, they're doing what other people have done. So just find someone who's done it brilliantly. Go and ask them how to do it. What do they think? And then once you've got that in, you can test and tweak and make it better.
My number one takeaway.
Well, Jon, you've offered so much great advice in a conversation, but what's the number one takeaway? What's the single most important step that our listeners need to take away and implement in their businesses?
Probably the one I said earlier, that everyone spends too much time and too much energy getting over involved in the business. All businesses are the same. They have production, marketing, finance. That's pretty much it. Everything you do will fall into production. So businesses just run on the same framework. You need to make sure that you have marketing nailed down, and all you need to do is follow an existing proven system. There are plenty out there for free. Just look at YouTube, plenty of stuff. So 20% of your time building a business, 80% of your time marketing. And if you are building a business, this is not a short-term thing. This is slow and steady wins the race. 2 tips.
There were great tips there, so we'll let you have them. Well, that takes us to the end of our discussion today. Thank you so much for your time and your advice. What's the best way for our audience to find out more about you and what you do.
Okay, I discuss freely everything I do on my marketingforowners.com website, but the best way to find out my system, I have a free course. If you go to www.freemarketingcourse.co, then you'll get a 12-day free course on my entire marketing system for free, and it shows you how easy it can be.
Can't ask better than that. Well, we'll include links to that in the show notes at digitalmarketingradio.com. Well, thanks to Jon, and thanks to your listener too. If you enjoyed what Jon shared today, here's how you can help. Go to your friend's iPhone, go to the podcast app, and search for Digital Marketing Radio. Click on the show, and then hit the subscribe button and make them listen too. Finally, I'm also hosting another live show every Friday called This Week in Organic. So head over to thisweekinorganic.com to find out more about that. But that's all for now. Until we meet again, adios, and thank you again, Jon. Great episode.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
And if you could possibly click the stop recording button, I'd appreciate that. That would be